One question, two views. You decide.
So today we're diving into a question that's baffled people for ages. How on earth were the incredibly hard granite blocks at the Great Pyramid cut and shaped?
When it comes to the Great Pyramid, there are so many mysteries, right? But one that just won't go away is how they worked with stone as tough as granite. And really, the whole debate boils down to two very different schools of thought.
So let's break down these two competing views. On one hand, you've got the idea that the tools and materials we know they had back then are enough to explain everything. But on the other hand, there's a view that says, no way. The evidence we see in the stone itself just doesn't add up with those simple tools.
All right, so let's dig in. The first viewpoint, the more established one, is all about immense human power. We're talking about thousands of workers using simple but effective tools over a very long time. Think copper saws, sand, and a whole lot of elbow grease. But then you have the second viewpoint, and this one's a real challenger. It says, hold on, look closer. The evidence left in the stone, the tool marks, the mind-boggling precision, it suggests a level of technology that just feels, well, way more advanced than what we think the Old Kingdom had.
Okay, so to really understand where these two sides differ, we need to zoom in on three key points of conflict. This is where the debate really heats up.
First up, drilling speeds. Now, this might sound super specific, but trust me, it's a huge deal. Why? Because how fast you can drill into something as hard as granite tells you an incredible amount about the tool you're using.
So, view one proposes a method that's pretty straightforward. Simple copper tube drills. Picture this. You've got a hollow copper pipe, and as you spin it, you're constantly feeding it an abrasive, like wet sand. Now, this would be painfully slow work, no doubt about it. But with enough time and enough people, this view holds that it's absolutely possible to create the drill holes we find all over the Giza Plateau. But then view two comes in and says, let's look at the actual evidence left behind. They point to these incredible spiral grooves that you can still see inside some of the drill holes. The argument here is that these grooves are just too perfect. They're too regular, too consistent to have been made by a wobbly, hand-powered drill. To them, these marks scream high feed rate, meaning the drill was biting into the granite at a fast, steady pace. That suggests a powerful, controlled machine, not just human muscle.
All right, so drilling is one part of the puzzle, but what about getting those massive surfaces perfectly flat? This brings us to our second big argument, surface precision. And we're talking about a level of flatness that is just staggering. Okay, so how does view one explain this? Well, it all comes down to masterful craftsmanship. The idea is that highly skilled artisans used things like flat stones and abrasive slurries to just grind the surfaces down by hand, bit by bit. It would have taken immense skill and unbelievable patience, for sure. But in theory, if you have enough time, there's really no limit to how flat you can make something by hand. View two, however, looks at this and questions the consistency. It's one thing to get a small area flat by hand, but maintaining that same even pressure over huge surfaces, they argue that's next to impossible for human. When you measure these artifacts with modern tools, the uniformity is just off the charts. To them, this points to a mechanical process, something with guides and constraints that could apply consistent pressure and produce the exact same result over and over again.
And that idea of repeatability leads us perfectly into the third and final argument, scale. It's a really practical question. Could either of these proposed methods actually work on the massive industrial scale needed to build the Great Pyramid?
From the perspective of view one, the answer is a clear yes. In this model, you've got plenty of abrasive material, tools that wear down but can be replaced, and the secret ingredient, a huge, brilliantly organized workforce. The challenge wasn't about the technology, it was about logistics and managing a massive number of people. But view two pushes back hard on this. They argue that when you scale up to this level, tiny problems become catastrophic. I mean, how do you get thousands of different workers to maintain the same microscopic precision, block after block after block? It seems impossible. So this view suggests that to get that kind of consistent quality across the entire project, you need a more automated, repeatable process, something with built-in checks and balances to make sure every single piece was perfect.
Okay, so after looking at those three major points of disagreement, it really all comes back to the same thing. Two totally different ways of reading the evidence. So we're back where we started. How were these incredible granite blocks cut and shaped? The entire debate really hangs on those three key areas we just covered: drilling speeds, surface precision, and the sheer scale of production. And as you can see, each viewpoint offers a complete but totally different explanation. So we've laid out both sides of the coin for you. And as always, this channel doesn't take a position. Our only job here is to lay out the arguments as clearly as we can so that you can weigh the evidence for yourself.
And that brings it all back to you. What's your take? When you look at the evidence, do you see a story of unbelievable human skill and determination using simple tools? Or do you see clues pointing to some kind of lost, more advanced technology? We really want to know which side you find more convincing. Let us know.